Yo, this right here is dedicated to the dedicated snow fighters. We see you.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Net Gain. This is networking, encouragement, and training. I'm your host, Evan Tashwire, jack of all people trades. Got a special guest with me today, Rob Thibault from Top Gun Backblades. Rob, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks for having me, for the invite. It's cool to connect. We've connected at different places, lots online, but it's fun to do these things too. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I have a commercial industrial snow removal company there, and that led me into snow product. And I liked it so much, and it benefited and grew our company so much. We took the profits from that plow and bought the manufacturer with it. So that's my story to get to Top Gun.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, we're definitely going to be talking about, Top Gun Backblades. As our overall topic today is about, equipment efficiency and everything. But first, I always want to open Net Gain with an encouragement. And what I want to send out as an encouragement today to anybody in the industry is really try different systems, whatever they are, whether it's something like time management, efficiency, and find what works for you. And also give yourself grace that what works for someone else might necessarily work for you, and vice versa. I'll use an example for weight loss. I had tried Noom in the past, and no shade to Noom by saying this, but one of their principles is like weigh yourself every day. And for me, just looking at the scale that much, just mentally, for whatever reason, was a block to me. It just didn't do it. And I've
Yeah,
actually found I've
of
been
course.
more healthy not doing it as much. And again, and no shade to that, because I know people that have done it and it's been very effective for. So know that, what works for you might not work for someone else. So I'd say leaders on your team, think about that. If you lead people, that maybe they need a different approach than yourself or someone else on your team. And even as individuals, if you try something and it doesn't work, that doesn't mean you can't do it. You just might need to find another way to do it. So, Rob, anything you'd say to that is just to expand on it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's absolutely an exceptional lesson, I would say. In that case, like you learned a lot. You learned that like daily practice, that forced behavior was actually counterproductive. It didn't help you. And so you did two things was like you tried a new thing
Hmm.
and you learned something from that. And then you realized this is not for me. That's you're way further ahead. We have some high producing exceptional team players that are just high achievers. And the counterintuitive advice to them most is lower your standards because they get so overwhelmed wanting to get everything perfect the first time. They want to
Hmm.
learn everything right there, done. It's like, I don't know, humans don't really work like that. If it's too
Hmm.
intimidating, you're going to defer, hesitate, you're going to get overwhelmed easier. Just get into it and then see what you learn. And because you're naturally a high achiever, if you imagine like setting a bar, like instead of a 6 foot jump trying to get over like a high jump, what if you just set it at 1 foot? The odds of you actually just enjoying jumping at 1 foot is like zero. But if you're a high achiever, it's like, oh, no big deal. I can do that all day. And so then you will quickly get back to 6 feet and plus or whatever the standard is. But it's actually a principle I've found in my life and with other high achievers too. If you can lower that bar at first, it takes the scary, overwhelming, uncertain, large amount of pressure off. And you will rise to the top. It makes it easier to start.
Yeah, I really like that. That's like we got two encouragements for the price of one. I love it. That's a great encouragement. It's like you said, lower that bar, kind of work at different intervals, and then as you jump it, slowly raise so that you instead of being overwhelmed by like everything you have to do, it's kind of like do what you can do. We actually, Steve Smythe and I talked about that last month when we did this
Mm,
of do what challenges you. We both, it's funny, we both use fitness examples, and I kind of used
hmm
I had heard an example of somebody saying like, they run 3 miles every day, and I was just getting back into running. And at that point, I wasn't even up to 3 miles consecutively yet,
Nice.
let alone every
Sure.
day, and I'm still not at every day. But what I did
Yeah.
say is I'm like, but is what I'm doing challenging and changing me? So I think the same thing, if you're not at that 1,000% level, like, is what you're doing challenging and changing. And I think you brought a good point up too about systems that fit you is if you try something and it doesn't work, like don't necessarily chalk it up to failure as much, chalk it up to experimentation and what do you learn from it. And I'm sure we could go a whole discussion on postmortems from snowstorms and, what you learn from those and, things that go on. But I think it's probably fair to say any of us in the industry that have done anything are probably very well taught by our failures.
That sting, you don't forget it. If you
Yeah.
start walking back in that direction or someone tries to persuade you, you're like, no, I felt that once was enough. I'm not doing that again. You're welcome to go on your own. I'm not doing that. Average human, it's hard to learn when you're winning because you're like, I got this. I'm the man. No problem. Everything's great. Like we use all of our failures and misses as learning points and opportunities to get better and work together better and challenge ourselves. When we win, it's kind of like, we're awesome. Nothing matters. Let's keep going, just bigger and better. But the most learning happens, which is what we're pursuing, is how can we, learn the most to improve the community, our business, each team member. All three wins is what we're pursuing. But when you just win, you miss a lot of the journey, the value that's in there. And nobody wins at everything all the time. Culturally online, it's like, oh, I'm the best. I'm the win. Here's all my whatever. But like, it's not like that. Nothing goes that way. So we don't even pursue that. It's like, let's keep doing our best. Some days we're going to win. We're not that good. Some days we're going to get kicked in the teeth and get embarrassed. We're not that bad. Like really good, but we just focus on being in the middle part of the equation and owning that middle bit. So I say typically like the top 20% and the bottom 20%, we're not this good and we're not this bad, but we own the middle and we keep moving that along.
I like that. I like that analogy of like owning the middle and not getting too inflated. What was the old quote? It's like, don't let the success go to your head. Don't let the failure go to your heart, kind of like you said, owning the middle. So as we kind of pivot here and start talking about equipment efficiency specifically, give the audience an overview of, what is Top Gun back blades and what is really the competitive advantage to back blades?
It's an insane snowplow that goes in the back of your truck. Trucks are made for pulling, dump trailers, travel trailers, whatever. Trucks are made for loading gravel, brick block, whatever in the back. They're made for payload and they're made for pulling. This snowplow has insane down pressure, two pressure cylinders for pressure. The old guys used to lift their tires off the ground to change them. We've since dialed down the pressure. But basically, it's a 16 or 20-foot plow that's road legal in all North America, that is easier on your truck and does twice the volume. So for me, how that came about was in 2016, 2017, we had taken on a bunch more contracts, which based on the previous 5 years was no problem. And then we got the biggest winner in my lifetime, which was really bad timing to grow a whole bunch because we were going to do fine, business as usual. This was not it. So I advise nobody to ever do this. I worked 22 hours a day for a month straight. And I have a heli medic buddy who at day 30, I just checked and I was like, hey, I feel really good. Why do I feel so good for working so much? He's like, oh, you're about to die. Like when you're that fatigued, your cells collapse and you just die. I was like, you sure you can't just like paddle me back? Like if I fall over? He's like, no, like there's no saving you. I was like, okay. So I need a better tool. I need better things because this isn't normal. This is an outlier, an event, but I can't be in this realm ever again. So then I started looking all over the internet, as we all do. Back then it was like Plow Site and some really grainy YouTube stuff. But we found what looked like a gimmick, but turned out to be legit. It was terrifying. It's Short Iron Back Blades was the company name at the time. We've since rebranded to Top Gun, but it seemed impossible. I had seen nothing in Western Canada. Nobody I'd talked to had ever run one. So we're across the continent because it's in Michigan and I'm in Vancouver. I'm right above Seattle, and it's in a different country. There's no dealer support. There's nobody even knows what this thing is. I need a better solution and I have to take the risk. Like the learning we just talked about is like a lot of guys locally, I asked, hey, what do you think about this? They're like, you're an idiot. This will never work. You don't know anything about snow removal if you think this is going to work. And it was like, okay, maybe you're right, but it's going to work or I'm going to learn. Either way, I'll be further ahead and I really hope that I'm right. So it turns out I was. The thing doesn't break. It's the strongest, simplest thing possible. So I've had them since 2017. We are in a low snow market here. So these, if you're in a low snow market, there's a bit of a secret. You can make a lot of money. People think, oh, I'm not in a big snow market, I can't make money. You can make a lot more money in a low snow market than you can in a big snow market in many cases. So this allowed me to basically double our production for plowing. So we could take on doubled the size for the de-icing, because the de-icing is where most companies make their profits. So the way to get to the profitable work is just have each plow truck that goes out do twice the snow. And we solved it.
Very cool.
And we solved it so well that we bought the manufacturer.
That's incredible. That's really, I mean, I think it's funny we started with the encouragement we did because I feel it almost fits that story perfectly about, like you said, experimenting. Like I was at a point where I knew something needed to change. I researched, I found this, and I tested it. And I think a good job to you also not listening to the naysayers. Not that we shouldn't, I think we always should take feedback, but there also does have to be that point of like being willing to experiment and trust your gut and say, let me try this out. And if this does, rather than give in to the naysayers, if this does work and does gain the efficiency, I think it can be game changing. And in your case, the fact that you bought the manufacturer, it's been very game changing, obviously.
It's been it's been a well received product for us. And now we're helping other guys kind of go there too. If you would like to do anything, be a high achiever, be not normal, if you'd like to be excellent at something, you can't fit in. None of the winners who are in first place, they're all abnormal. They all do things differently. Their goal isn't to fit in. Their goal is to be their best. And a lot of guys just don't, like the tall poppy syndrome, they don't want to be the one that's up ahead of everybody because you stand out, you look awkward, you get made fun of. But all the winners in business, in sports, in you name it, it's not a coincidence. They're not doing what the average dude is doing. If you want average results, do average. If you don't, once in a while you have to look stupid. And, if you try 10 things and one of them is right, the dividend will pay a lot more than the 10 you failed on. So it just takes a little bit of courage. Once in a while, guys make fun of you with the back blades, like, oh, you're at the gas station, your plow's on backwards, you don't know anything. It's like, yeah, all the way to the bank. I'm not worried about it. Like the thing paid for itself pretty rapidly. So you keep fitting in and doing what's normal. That's fine. I'm not, whatever suits you, but that's not what I'm after.
No, that's really cool and definitely great advice and wisdom on, like you said, not fitting in. I think when you were saying that about athletes, I think about like Jerry Rice. I remember watching a documentary on his training back in the day, and he used to run up and down mountains, and his teammates are like, dude, you're nuts. Like, why are you going out in the middle of nowhere? It doesn't take all this. But, he laughed all the way to the Hall of Fame and, career leading numbers that probably will never be touched again at a size where, there's a lot of people that were bigger than him, probably faster than him, more polished, but he just put that work and that grit in and is like, this is what I need to be excellent. I'm going to keep pushing myself to get that 1% better. And yeah, I think that's really great.
If you're living, if you have a heartbeat, there will be criticism. Who cares? I find like 40% of the people, they love me, like me, what we're doing. 40% don't, and 20% don't even know what's going on or what's up, left, down, right. Like that can't be a thing that controls you. And, that example, I mean, Hall of Fame stuff, even if somebody does take the records and pass him, he's still the guy that did the thing. And that's his reputation, like his own like personal brand, as, we call it now, is like, I don't know. He won no matter what. And the other thing is when you do win, it makes everybody else feel very uncomfortable because then they see their own inadequacies and they're quick to throw little daggers or remarks or chirp you to somebody. Often, not always. I think the snow community in many ways, because of the last couple of years with snow jobs in particular, has opened up conversations that I don't think have ever been able to be had. But there is definitely that thing when you're doing well, people aren't usually happy for you, which is weird. Some people are, your true friends and connections are, but a lot of people they feel like, damn, he passed me. And so it's easy just to throw cheap shots out there. But I'm not living for anybody's praise. I'm pursuing my goals and values, and sometimes win, sometimes we lose. So you can say whatever, and not you, but anybody can say whatever they want.
Yeah.
Not really my business.
100%. No. And I think the snow community, I mean, you shout out Snow Jobs. I definitely shout them out. Sima, others that are bringing, Gene Stork, others that are bringing the community together in regional events, different ways. But I do agree with you too. I mean, here's the thing, even within the community, we're not always going to see things eye to eye. And here's the thing, not everything's going to be right for everybody. But like you said, knowing your audience and kind of who backblades are going to be good for, really pitching to those that buy in. So kind of with that, I mean, obviously, you believe in your product, but people who maybe are first learning about back blades, what types of properties or jobs would you say maybe they're best suited for? So if somebody's thinking about adding back blades to their fleet, what would they really be advantageous for?
Yeah, so there's a few applications. One, if you're doing residential driveways, there's a lot of guys you will just be able to do twice or more. I'm not going to oversell. There's a lot of guys that get mad at me for underselling who use it. They're like, you're not telling the whole truth. It's like, it would not sound real if I explained how well some of these guys are doing. It's not believable, which is the fun of it. So I would say, you typically would be able to double up your route per truck. So if you had, one truck, that's the equivalent of 2 trucks production. If you have 2 trucks, all of a sudden you can be doing 4 trucks production. And with modern climate of the workforce, that's a thing. Instead of bringing on more people, more engines, more wheels, more training and liability, if you, in particular, owner operators, if you can just double up your production, it's a fraction of the cost of buying any other piece of equipment, truck, skid steer, loader. What's your risk? You got it wrong. We don't like it. That's fine. You sell it. You take a couple grand loss, but I guarantee you made enough money. It didn't really matter anyways, even if you didn't love it. What it's also done is out here, again, we're in a low snow market. We had mid-sized commercial stuff, but this allowed us to take contracts that had previously required in contract that you need to have loaders with X size, Metal Plus or Arctic. They gave us a shot with these trucks, and our blade is $12,500. I did not buy a $200,000 loader. I did not buy a $40,000 plow to go on it. I took a truck I already owned and put one of these on it, and I charged the same rate, a hair under what the other guys were charging, but my costs were a fraction. So that's what helped fund the acquisition. Was it allowed me to go from small, mid-sized commercial to large commercial, and then I just ate up all that profit because we charge the same rate. So customers are paying for results. They're not paying to watch me per hour in a piece of equipment. They're paying for results. So they don't care how I deliver it. They're happy with the product. It's the same price they've always paid. So, and then once I finish, one of those large commercials, I lift my blade up, I fold my wings in, I'm road legal, I hit the highway and go do it again on another large commercial site. You just can't do that with a big loader or skid steer or tractor with, a lot of blades are fixed wide. These are 101, so they're road legal everywhere. Now, they can't stack like a loader, which is fine. They can still stack 5-6 feet if you're decent, but that's not where they're best suited. They're best suited for moving quickly. Our 20-footers will reach under the kingpin on semi-trailers. I mean, tell me what an attachment like that would cost. Otherwise, it's not even in the same ballpark, not even close. Guys who were looking at in commercial, this is your chance. There's a couple guys, say in Minnesota, that told me, we had some CVSEs. I'm Canadian. I'm still
CVS.
like the drugstore.
Yeah, CVS.
CVS.
Drugstore, yep.
One of the guys said, I was doing that in about 45 minutes, and I'm down to 18 minutes.
Wow.
So he charges the same, so you can do 2 and change, say 2.5. What does your bottom line look like? If you already own, you didn't buy a new truck, you just added this thing on there, and then you're doing twice, and you can get into commercial and expand without needing to spend hundreds of thousands or on extra equipment. Like we were selling to fleets and the big companies, but my heart is I was in a bad position trying to get the snow thing off the ground in Vancouver, the snow removal company, which is snow cleared, by the way. That's the
I like that.
It was scary and overwhelming, and in many ways, launching a small business is basically impossible. And this thing allowed me to catch my breath and make some money and get ahead of our contracts and the work. It was like the first time I felt relief, and I want that so badly for the average small business owner to be able to feel a bit of that relief. If that means extra cash for expansion, or to be able to justify to yourself to take more time off because you have more wiggle room. If that means spending time with your kids, doing things with your hobbies, investing in education, to be able to give guys that back to me is way more important than selling iron. We're going to do fine. We're selling the big guys, but the average small business owner, 1 to 4 or 5 trucks, that's the guy I really hope buys this selfishly, just because for me, I know the value it's provided, and I want to help kind of share the good news about this product and what they can actually achieve without having to play with the big boys and the big boys toys on that level. It will get them there without all the expense.
That's really cool. And I can hear the heart in that because, I think about, I don't want to dovetail off mine, this topic, but even while I'm in the industry, the snow industry saved my career professionally. And, that's my heart to give
Wow.
back and help build. So I think same thing hearing that for you, that this was something that it wasn't just like, oh, this is a cool piece of equipment. Now I'm going to sell back blades to make more money. But it's like, no, this gave me time with my family. This gave me my health back when I could have been in a bad position, that I could have wrecked myself. This gave me the ability to do more, to provide more for my team, for others. Now with, owning the manufacturing, that's more jobs, that you're also providing. So like all those kind of things I think are really important. But just to kind of recap, with properties are best suited for, you had said about residential driveways doubling the efficiency rates there. You mentioned about they can get under trailers. They can also, for people that are the maybe owner operator, or maybe have two or three trucks, just a few with the wings that fold out, you can actually get that same kind of coverage area of a metal plus or an Arctic, so you can bid contracts
Yep.
that are asking for that 26 footer, 30 footer. Forgive me if my numbers aren't exactly right, equipment's not my specialty, but you can get that
That's
wider
cool.
push
16
with,
to 20 feet. Yep.
yeah, you
Yep.
16, 20. Okay, so I'm over here like making them real big now, but be able to get yourself in the game for contracts that you couldn't have bid before, which is really cool. And then I
Yes.
think another thing you mentioned too about the fact that they can fold in then and become street legal. Obviously a truck moves a whole lot faster than a loader, and there's not laws against trucks being on the road as compared to some states. You can't drive a loader on the road. I don't know every state's laws, but
Yeah, there are exceptions, but across North America, they don't love you running big loaders down highways with four-
yeah,
14, 16, 20-foot plows. This is not a thing.
yeah, and exactly. And
A
if you
couple
have a
things,
big,
if I can point out
yeah,
that
yeah, go ahead.
distinguish us is, average small business owner truck, like your fleet truck matters as a truck. So this hooks up, it mounts up into your frame. You keep your center receiver so you get toe step, and you have two extra 2-inch receivers, which is what our blade slips into, two pins, just like a trailer. Your truck bed is free. Your hitch is available if your plow's not on. We have a receiver for brine bars, so you can plug in your brine bar above the plow. So you're not compromising being able to treat property still. And liquids basically go twice as far as granular. So we've actually doubled our profits by running liquids, and it's because it pairs with our blades. It's a killer unit.
Nice.
Additionally, we test everything in house. It's snow cleared. So we tested a skid steer mount because I was in a lurch one time and needed to see like, hey, is this possible to also run on this? And I asked Jason, the previous founder owner, hey, is this possible? He's like, well, you have a new blade. Your warranty's done, but like, do whatever you want. So I gave it a shot. Turns out skid steers work with these great, and 3-point tractors. So I don't know if your truck is totally usable all year, if you can also put it on your skid, if you can also put it on your 3-point tractor hitch, and you could still shoot de-icing material. To me, as a commercial snow removal company owner, it has solved a ton of problems. And again, we test them all in house, and now I'm so proud to share and help other guys reap these benefits.
Yeah. No, it definitely
So
sounds
it
like
is unique
there's,
that way.
yeah, no, it sounds like there's tons of benefits from the efficiency side, from, like you said, being able to literally double your truck's efficiency, not having to upgrade to another piece of equipment as well. So I guess kind of, you talked about it already, but what kind of advice would you give to contractors when they're thinking about equipment to increase efficiency? What should contractors, especially you said your heart's for the owner operators, the guys coming up in the business, what should those owner operators or small business owners really be thinking about when it comes to equipment efficiency?
Yeah, I mean, a couple things. If something has served you well, don't just abandon it for no reason. Keep the thing going and try things. If you look at someone like a top dog, Todd, sweet dude, runs
Hmm.
airports, international airports. You look at Glacier, you look at, the more well-known, substantial outdoor pride they're not there by coincidence. They're ambitious, which helps, but there are many ambitious people. It's the willingness to try things like we talked about. So if you feel like, I'm plowing as fast as I can, I'm the best in town, and I still, at the end of the year, when we do the numbers, it doesn't make sense. Keep that how it is, but add something else so it's less risky. Don't abandon the thing. But you have to try things because that's how those guys got it. That's the secret sauce. They looked stupid plenty. You probably don't know all the stories, but if you were having a beer, a fireplace, they would gladly tell you all the things they got wrong and felt dumb about. But that's the cost of growing and developing is once in a while you get it wrong and it's just awkward and terrible, and that's okay. That means you're on the right path. Now, if you do that forever and you're always doing the wrong, terrible thing, you should reassess how you make decisions. But that's the difference between, Todd was a one truck show. That was it. He could have stayed there. A lot of guys stay there and then they justify why they're there. And that's fine if you would like to be there and stay there. But if you would like to grow and adapt, you have to try things. Obviously, I'm biased. Try the Top Gun. If it doesn't work, tell me about it. If it does work and you like it, help me make it better. It can only do so many things, but I want to collab. I love collaboration with high-level players. Tell me what you think we could adjust or change. If we've already thought about it and canned the idea, I'll gladly discuss that. But if you have something we haven't thought about yet, or a twist, an innovation, or whatever, we would love to try that and help make this thing the best that it possibly can be, because we all benefit from it. And particularly because, a lot of the guys aren't in my town, it's easier for me to collaborate and share things. If it was everybody in town, there would be, a bit of a competitive pressure, but we're all spread out now. And so I would say average small business guy, don't abandon the thing you're doing, try something new that you think could take you to the next level. And by the way, it will be terrifying. It will feel expensive. It will feel like a whole bunch of question marks, the whole path forward. And you can read all the spreadsheets you want. It doesn't help you. When you're out there running new equipment, it's uncomfortable. But once you settle in after a few hours, if you figure out it's the right move for you, you're going to look back in a couple of years and be like, what was I waiting for? We had a fella tell me that. We ran the numbers on everything. And I said, so basically, our blade is 12.5. And you average a truck, you say, in your area, about $25K a year per unit skid steer, the way you break it out. That's kind of what your sales are. Okay, so how much would this increase your production? And he has one. He's looking at a second one. Well, he's like, it doubles my truck. I was like, okay, so let's do the math. You spend 12.5 on a separate truck now to put it on, and you're going to charge 5 years times 25K is an extra 125. So tell me how the math looks. You don't spend 12.5 and you forego an extra 125 per truck. How does that feel? Like, well, that's not great. Okay, cool. That's good. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But so far, unless you're in like a 10-foot snow market, which, there's specialty equipment, blowers would probably be better for you. Particularly if you're in a low to average snow market, this will change the game for you.
Awesome. So yeah, great stuff to think about. Definitely. I like your principle of it's almost a, scientific method that elementary school taught is like, do what you're doing, but take one variable and change it. Let's just try one back blade in one site and see, or on one truck and see how that route compares. Because then you also have the comparison too. You can actually compare what you changed to what you've done. And if the change is significantly better, which your results have been showing, then okay, like we don't have to make the change across the board. We can test the change. And if the change works. So I like that point. And I also like the point you made about feedback. I think that's one thing Snow Jobs has been really good for, is having the panel discussions, and also Storm Equipment talking about feedback to the OEMs about, the equipment, what they'd like to see. I think those feedback and those relationships between, Metal Plus and Douglas and Arctic, all the different manufacturers, Cage, are going to be important. Because yourself, because it's going to be that you don't know how it works until you put it out there. So hearing different stories from different sites, different climates, different markets is all going to help make you better, and then ultimately make them better as a contractor. So yeah, this has been super good discussion. Rob Thibault from Top Gun Backblades. Rob, any kind of closing thoughts with the audience? And then once we get through, I'll shut the record off and we'll go to networking. Anthony, I think, still on here. And if anybody else popped in, we'll definitely be chatting it up.
I would just say be gracious with yourself. You're working hard, you're doing your best. It's easy to get lost in social media and what the big guy
Mhm.
in town or someone somewhere else is doing. That's not for you. Don't worry about that. If you commit to a very manageable goal, like 1% a day, with everything I touch, how can I make it just a little bit better? Every person I interact with, how can I be a little more supportive, a little clearer, a little more encouraging for us all to do better? When you look back in the 90 days, in a year, and 10 years, you're going to be proud of what you built. Nobody did it overnight. And if they did, they're lying to you. It doesn't work that way. So those small wins, they stack up fast. There's no such thing as an overnight success. You can only eat an elephant one bite at a time. You can try and eat an elephant in one bite. It's just not going to go well. Like, enjoy the journey. The last thing I'll say about this is the founder of Nike, Phil Knight. I don't know if you've read that book, Shoe Dog. This was super encouraging for me because I spend a lot of time in the truck. So I'm either on the phone or listening to a book or something. So he said, for the first 10 years, I had no money for payroll. For the first 10 years, I had no money for inventory. It was terrifying every month. And now that I've basically conquered the world, hit every market, owned every market, become the biggest and the best at everything, I just sold my company for a gazillion untold dollars. I can do whatever I want. The only thing I want now is to do it all over again. So,
Mhm.
like, it tells you being in the fight, feeling like it's impossible, being scared, you're in the right place. Just keep going. If you stay there and don't keep going, that's when it all goes to pot and will fail. But if you keep going, you will be so much better for it. And you will look back on the hardest, scariest times with the most fondness and be the most proud of yourself when you were going through that, when you look back from the future.
Awesome. Now, I think that's great advice to close on. And for anybody, whether you're an entrepreneur, sales, operations, wherever you're at in the snow and landscape industry, I hope that encourages you to just keep going. So it's been Rob Thibault, Net Gain. Thank you, Rob, for joining us. Appreciate it.
They call you unsung hero.